Find Me in Your Dreams, a fantasy novel by Victoria Veles. We Are the Dreamers series. Book 1. Chapter 4. Seek Out the Ones Who Care. That night, my dreams were filled with monsters. These creatures weren't shapeless like before. They resembled humans, but instead of eyes, they had black holes with darkness seeping through them. They surrounded me, and no matter how hard I tried to break free, they kept pulling me back into their circle. I screamed at the top of my lungs, but no sound escaped. I saw the boy again in my dream. I saw him trying to help me, trying to break through to get to me, to pull me out from this never-ending cycle. But no matter how much he tried, he couldn't get through the circle of monsters surrounding me. At some point, I watched as some of the monsters turned on him, surrounding him this time. I tried to scream a warning to him. To tell him to run. My nightmare didn't have to be his. But no sound came out. Eventually, I saw him break free from his circle by shining his light. I felt relief knowing he was safe, allowing myself to let go. I sat on the floor, hugged my knees, and surrendered. The next morning, the weather mirrored my mood perfectly. Rain and fog enveloped the surroundings, casting an eerie atmosphere, especially over the forest outside my window. I looked out into the mist, wondering which shadows were hiding there. I had been pacing my room all morning. Nothing made sense anymore, everything about my father seemed to be turned upside down. I questioned all I thought I knew about him. It felt like the ground had been yanked from under my feet. I replayed Nana's words in my mind, trying to extract the key messages from our conversation. One thing was certain. My father had secrets. A lot of them. And now, we were all in some sort of danger, though it wasn't exactly clear what kind of danger, but danger it was. Another thing was more or less clear too. It looked like my actions were responsible for this unknown threat we were all facing now. So, apparently, all the years my father had spent trying to stay hidden were rendered useless by me in just a single moment. Great, just great. I mumbled under my breath in frustration, repeatedly kicking the floor with the toe of my slipper, wondering how I was supposed to fix this. Oh yeah, that was another thing nobody had told me about, I continued to mumble to myself. Despite my frustration, I knew I had to do something. After all, it was my fault, whether I believed it was deserved or not. And nobody else seemed to know what to do, so I decided that trying something was better than doing nothing. Apollo, let's go, I called out. Apollo, who had been watching me pace the room all morning, stood up from his bed and trudged to the door. Good boy. We'll show those monsters who's who. I left my room and moved quietly toward the back door, careful not to alert Nana. As I rounded the corner, Claire's quiet voice from behind me stopped me in my tracks. Where are you going? She asked. I slowly turned around, like a thief caught at a crime scene. Nowhere, go back to your room, I replied curtly. But I heard you tell Apollo let's go, Claire persisted stubbornly. I need to do something. It's nothing you should worry about. I'll be back soon, I assured her, slipping on my jacket. But Grandma said to stay together, Claire's voice was small with concern. I'm just going to the backyard, I lied. Claire's eyes narrowed, sensing the deceit. She crossed her arms in an uncharacteristic move and said, I know you are lying. Damn it, I didn't anticipate Claire being an obstacle. I knelt to be eye to eye with her. Listen, I need to do this, and it would be easier if Grandma didn't know about it right now. I'll be careful, okay? I gave Claire a look that was a mix of persuasion and pleading. She narrowed her eyes but agreed, okay, but if she asks, I'm telling her, she warned, turning back to her room. I sighed, resigned to the consequences. But in the grand scheme of things, there were bigger troubles at the moment than being grounded by Nana. Opening the back door, I said to Apollo again, "Let's go," as we headed into the murky forest. I stood beside the same tree stump, surrounded by towering trees. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. Inhaling deeply the misty forest aromas, I focused on my breathing, attempting to summon the boy. "Come on," I urged impatiently. "We don't have time for this." Apollo mirrored my impatience, pacing in circles around me. I was conscious of not doing something that would draw the attention of the man in Claire's room. But I hoped I would still be able to see the boy by some magical means. "I need to talk to you," I said into the empty air. "Can you show up, please?" I pleaded. I waited, scanning the mist-shrouded forest, but nothing moved. "Fine. If you're not going to show up, I'll say what I came to say anyway." My temper flared, and the wind seemed to echo my frustration, picking up in the drizzle. "I don't know who you are, but I've seen you watching me here and I've seen you in my dreams. And now, because of that, we're all in danger, me, Claire, and Nana. It's all because of what I've done, though I didn't know I was doing it. Nobody warned me, and now it's too late. Somebody came to our house, to Claire's room, something not of this world. They are after us, and I have no idea how to stop them. I was hoping you might help. I have nobody else to turn to. Please. Help." I pleaded, tears streaming down my face. "It's all my fault, and I'm at a loss." The wind calmed to a gentle breeze, almost comforting. As if offering a soft caress. "I don't know how to make you appear, but if you can, please do. I need your help." Yet nothing changed, it was just me standing in the mist. I waited for a sign. Any sign, but was met with silence. I kept looking. Kept hoping. The wind kept brushing my cheeks. Defeated, tears mingling with raindrops, I whispered, "Let's go, Apollo." And we headed back to the house. Inside, Nana was too preoccupied to notice my return. Quietly, I hung up my jacket and watched her place colorful crystals around the living room. I tried to figure out what she was doing, but I came back with nothing, so I asked, "Nana, what are you doing?" She jumped and put a hand to her heart. "You startled me," she said breathlessly. And then admitted with a touch of embarrassment. "Trying out a protection technique I learned. It's supposed to keep bad things out." "Could you place these amethysts around the kitchen?" she asked, gesturing to a coffee table. Eyeing different baskets on the coffee table, I asked, "Which ones are those?" "The purple ones," she pointed to the middle one. "Thank you, dear. And as you do it, imagine a golden light forming a barrier around the space. And also repeat. I set this barrier to keep out all evil, wrong, and harm." I looked at her skeptically. "Is that really necessary?" She countered with raised eyebrows, "We want it to work, don't we?" I conceded, I guess. Though I was not fully convinced about participating in what seemed like an odd ritual. "Well, dear, then you'll have to really try," she insisted. "Fine," I sighed, resigning myself to the task despite my reluctance. I hesitantly approached the table to pick my portion of the crystals. Admittedly, they were quite beautiful, shimmering with various shades of purple as I rotated the basket in my hands. One crystal, in particular, caught my eye. As I reached for it, a sudden jolt of electricity zapped my hand as my fingers barely touched it. "Ouch!" I exclaimed, withdrawing my hand quickly. "What's wrong?" Grandma looked up sharply. "One of the stones zapped me," I complained. Probably just static electricity, she remarked, returning to her task. I frowned, feeling the zap was more intense than mere static, but I didn't care to elaborate. Already impatient with the entire chore. Heading to the kitchen, I stood in the center of the space. Feeling utterly ridiculous. Okay, let's do this, I muttered to myself. Taking a deep breath, I began. I set the barrier to keep out all evil, wrong. Finishing with a deep sigh. And harm. Okay, that wasn't so bad. I admitted, but also looked around, making sure nobody was watching. Glaring at the seemingly innocent pile of crystals in my basket, I warned them, "You better not zap me again." Apollo was sitting in the corner observing the whole thing with utmost curiosity. I closed my eyes, trying to recall Grandma's instructions. Right, imagine the barrier around the space. Taking another breath, I visualized a golden light surrounding the kitchen, similar to the light I'd seen in the forest that day. Reaching for the crystal without looking, I expected the cold touch of stone, but instead my fingers encountered something warm and tingling, like an electric current. That's interesting, I murmured to myself, bringing the stone closer to my face to get a better look at it. I was surprised to see how beautiful it looked inside, like a universe of its own. All right, let's do it. I placed the first stone on the kitchen windowsill and continued to distribute the crystals around the kitchen. As I continued to place the crystals, I heard a whisper. "Find me in your dreams." I whirled around trying to see where it came from. It really felt like someone was just standing right there beside me, whispering into my ear. Apollo became uneasy, he started to growl with a dead stare pointed just to my right. "Apollo, what do you see?" I asked carefully. But he just kept growling and staring, then he started to approach me with his bared teeth. "Apollo?" I asked again. That was so unlike him to act like this. He was coming closer and closer. Then he passed me until he hit a wall, where he just kept staring and growling for another couple of minutes. Then he turned around, puffed, and paced for a few moments until he settled into his bed while still staring at the spot on the wall. "Apollo, did you see anyone here?" Stupid question, I thought. I knew that he did. I just hoped it was the boy and not the scary figures from my nightmares. That night, I was looking forward to going to sleep, excited at the possibility of seeing him, the boy. How funny that I didn't even know his name, and yet my heart would skip a little at the thought of seeing him. I was a bit concerned at the prospect of looking for him in my dreams. What did he mean by that? But I tried not to overcomplicate it. We've managed to meet somehow so far, and I just hoped that my luck, whether it was good or bad, would keep up. My dreams were usually quite wild. I never knew what the night would bring, and I never tried to make sense of them. On that night, I found myself in what appeared to be one of the Care Bears cartoons. Claire loved those cartoons despite them being quite old. She kept rewatching them, and I caught her doing just that earlier that day. It didn't take me long to realize that there was something wrong with these bears. They seemed to have a glitch in their system because they were using their powers against me. Which hurt. They didn't look as cuddly and sweet when they were hunting me down. That's how the boy found me, running away from a bunch of Care Bears. At that moment, I was hunching behind a cartoon car, trying to hide from them. I saw him just standing there, right in front of me, towering over the cartoon car. He was wearing the same light pants as that first time in the forest, but with a moss green hoodie this time. I quickly pulled on his sleeve and hissed at him, "Sit down." He stood out too much in this silly cartoon world. He gave me a puzzled look and kept looking around with a baffled expression. "Sit, please. They will find us." He did sit down and asked in a whisper. "Who are they?" "The Care Bears." The Care Bears are looking for you? Yes, they seem to think I'm some sort of a bad guy, so they are after me, all of them. And it hurts when they send their love or whatever it is from their bellies, so please just stay down. All right. He said with a chuckle. Why are you laughing? I said, a bit irritated. It's just the last place I expected to find you in. The Care Bears, and I could see he was trying not to laugh again. I glowered at him. And then something dawned on me. I was talking to him. In my dream. That stopped me short. What's going on? Where are we? I asked. Oh, you tell me, it's your dream. My dream. Yes, it's your dream. You are dreaming. But I can talk to you. I can understand it's a dream. I couldn't comprehend how that was possible. It's a lucid dream, he said, a dream in which you are aware you are dreaming. But why is it happening? You were looking for me, right? You wanted to talk to me. Well, here we are. I couldn't think of any other way to talk to you except for hijacking your dream. Sorry about that. I'm Kayden, by the way, he said and outstretched his hand for a handshake. The boy had a name, and it was a nice one, I thought to myself. I shook his outstretched hand and said, I'm Cat with a K. It's nice to finally meet you, Cat with a K, he said with a smile. He looked at me for a few moments before saying, but we shouldn't waste time, we never know what the dreams might bring. Right, I reminded myself, those Care Bears were trying to murder me. Tell me what happened. You seemed upset in the forest. I was about to tell him the whole story about the monsters in Claire's room. But then a thought crossed my mind that sparked my irritation. Why didn't you appear then if you knew I was looking for you? I questioned. And who exactly are you? Why did I see you in the forest? It's a bit of a long story, one probably for another time, he said. But I didn't appear in the forest because I don't control that. It's you who has the ability to see me, not the other way around. But how can I see you now? Well, because we are in the dream world, things are different here. But let's save that discussion for later. You mentioned needing my help. What's the issue? I took a moment to gather my thoughts. Everything felt incredibly real. I came to you because something I did has put my family in trouble, and I'm unsure how to fix it. I hoped you might help. I wasn't sure whether I should mention that I remembered seeing him in my other dream. Was that real or my own creation? Better to keep that to myself. I'm listening, he said, his expression turning serious. That time I saw you in the forest. Initiated it all. Unknowingly on my part. Seeing you triggered something, broke the barrier so to speak, and now someone is after us. The veil between the worlds, he added. Yes, only I didn't know I was doing it. You do seem to possess a strong ability to trespass the veil, he agreed. That's the thing, apparently my father warned my Nana of this, he didn't want us to do it. I think it might have been something that got him in trouble. But I don't have all the details. My parents passed away a while back. I'm sorry, Cat. That's all right, it's been a long time. But while my father was alive, he was very cautious not to breach the veil in any way. I don't remember any of that, my grandmother just told me all this after that. Something appeared in Claire's room. And maybe if I knew earlier, I wouldn't do what I've done, but now it's too late. What happened? Can you describe what you've seen? Well, I wasn't the one who saw it, it was something that my younger sister Claire saw in her bedroom. She said it looked like a man, only his eyes were completely black, hollow, as if two holes filled with darkness. He took a second before saying, "The description sounds like that of a dark one." A dark one? Yes, but they are not particularly dangerous. I've encountered them in the astral world. They just usually mind their business. But why were they in Claire's room? That is a good question, and I don't have the answer. I was never particularly curious about them or gave them too much thought. I just know that they are attracted to human pain, they can sense it. But it doesn't make any sense. Claire is the happiest child I know. She is never sad, rarely complains, and she is generally happy overall. Honestly, it's a bit annoying at times. I can imagine, he smiled. Did your grandma say anything else? Not really, she hardly knew anything herself. She just said that my father was always paranoid in a way. He would stay away from anything metaphysical or mind-altering and would make sure that neither my mother nor Nana engaged in any of that. He said that by doing that, he might get exposed. I sighed. I wish I knew more. Let me look into this, and get back to you, he replied and was about to get up. I grabbed his sleeve again to keep him from leaving. But how? How would we meet? Right, good question. I think I would like to stay away from your dreams. They are not particularly friendly, he said with a smile. I shot him a glance. Let's meet in a buffer zone, it's an in-between zone, not quite a dream but still in a dream world. How do I get there? Another good question, it took him a second to think, then he shot a glance at me. Take a stone, any stone that looks appealing to you. Any? Yes, any, something that would fit into your hand. And then draw this symbol on it. With his finger, he drew a symbol on the cartoon floor we were sitting on. It was a straight vertical line with a small diagonal line on both ends. What does it mean? It's called Iwas. It's a symbol from the runes, it represents the connection between the worlds. It will help you to access that place I told you about. But how do I use it? Just take that stone in your hand as you are falling asleep and say, "Meet me where one world begins and another one ends." More of the same riddles my grandma gave me, I thought. And you will be there? Yes, I will meet you there next night, he said. Once more he started to get up, but I held onto his sleeve again. Thank you, I said earnestly, while looking into his deep golden eyes. He returned my look and replied, "My pleasure." Then, after another prolonged glance, he continued. You should really get some friendlier dreams. I wish, I responded glumly. He looked around. To be honest, it's an upgrade from the demons that were hunting you down before. I was about to question him about that, but then the Care Bears actually found us. I clenched Kayden's hand and prepared to run, but he leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "Wake up, cat."